Hey friends, welcome back to Pages and Grace. My name's Jess. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk about the books I've been reading recently. Alright, so it's been a minute since I filmed one of these, and I went through all of my books and divided them out into these short videos that I can make in a reasonable amount of time. And I have 12 videos to make. And I didn't count any books from December yet. So today's video is going to be about the YA and middle grade books that I've read recently in the past few months that I want to share my thoughts on. This book is already in my unhaul pile. I think it's in my Pango store. Maybe it's in with that tote of books, but I'm not going to dig it out for the purpose of this video. We follow a boy, I don't remember his name at this point, but the main character and his family is living on the moon in this space station where they are just doing science experiments, and it's really interesting. I really enjoy the story and how life would be so much different if we were living on the moon in a space station. It was really fun from a middle grade perspective to see all of the things that were happening. I enjoyed the series up until that third book. And there was just a mention of like inappropriate things for a middle grade book. I think I even recommended the first two books. In the third book, there was a mention of like an adult, and it was part of the clues that they're all mysteries where he's trying to solve something that's going on. There is some murder that happens in the space station. But one of the people that he was looking into had talked to this middle school boy about like he couldn't be it because he was sneaking out to get a snack and then brought it to his partner's room. And I don't know, I just was not okay with the insinuation of what was going on in a middle school book. This is an adult. You don't need to talk to children about that. I immediately DNF'd it. I actually went back and re-listened to it. I was listening to the audiobook from my library, and just to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. And yeah, I is quick no. Yeah, no thank you. Not in a middle school book. This is not age appropriate for adults to be talking about anything of that nature with children. Red flags going up all over the place as a former middle school teacher and a mom myself to 3 boys. That is not a conversation I would ever want an adult that doesn't even know my child to be having with my child. Yeah, no. So immediate DNF. I cannot recommend the series anymore. But since I did recommend this series early on when I had just read the first book, I wanted to share that with you if it's something that concerns you like it concerns me. All right, the next book is hanging out right back here. I read Salt to the Sea by Rita Sepetys. I loved this book. I always love Rita Sepetys' books. She has such a way of picking events in history that one I didn't know a lot about, I didn't know even existed, and just pulling me in and telling me a story that is captivating It's not too bogged down with history that you can't enjoy the story. It's been a hot minute since I've read this book, so let me read a little bit from the back for you. It is winter 1945, 4 refugees, 4 secrets. Each one born of a different homeland, each one hunted and each one haunted by tragedy, lies, and war. As thousands desperately flock to the coast in the midst of a Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage aboard the ship that promises safety and freedom, but not all promises can be kept. This book was captivating. It was heartbreaking. Surviving winter as they're traveling out in the elements, the way that people just bonded together, strangers bonded together in the different moments. You see their humanity, you see deep character flaws in different people throughout the book. The book just feels so real and raw, but beautiful at the same time. I read a couple of her books so far, and I definitely recommend him. The next book I read was Wormwood Abbey, and I absolutely loved this story. It was whimsical and sweet and cozy and fantastical. It had dragons, which was so much fun. And I was this close to putting it in my cart and purchasing a copy of it for myself to be able to read with my boys eventually. Now, there is one thing that I struggled with, and I don't know, I have gone back and forth on whether or not to even bring this up. There was something at the end of the book that just, I don't know, it broke my heart. And in the moment, I just breezed past it and kept going. But it was something that just like kept weighing on my heart and weighing on my heart. Like, these are books that I want to buy for my kids and be able to enjoy reading the stories with my children. There was one term used that it doesn't sit well with my heart. And it wasn't even used in a negative tone. She said something to the effect of, well, they were celebrating the feast of St. George, and it had to do with dragons, and I think her brother's name was George, if I remember right. And it was just a fun celebration day at the end of this big climax that had just happened. And she said, I'm no papist, but da 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 da. And I don't know. The first time I heard it, I was like, that's not fun, but the story is so good, and it's the last chapter, so I finished the book and I just moved on. I ended up starting the second book, and I was halfway through it, and it was just every time I was in prayer, that kept weighing on my heart. It's just a term that has a negative connotation to it. It's never used in a good light. Could we have just said Catholic instead of papist? It's not a respectful or positive term. I do not require that my books or my friends or anyone shares my faith. But a little respect goes a very, very long way. And I loved finding a cozy, fantastical read to just get lost in. So I had already started the second book by the time my convictions started pulling me back. And it just, I don't know, it's a little brokenhearted, and it's silly over one word. But I do feel like if I am giving my kids a book and I'm reading it with them, I don't want it to be demeaning to their own faith. I do not require that my books share my faith. I don't require that my friends share my faith. I think there's a lot that we have to learn from each other, but derogatory terms like that, if it was against any other religion or group of people, I think it would have been a bigger issue for more people, but because it's Catholics, that's kind of my opinion on it at this point. So I'm going to move on now. All right, the next book is The Book Thief by Mark Zusak. This book has been on my TBR probably the longest of any book. This is a book that my very first year teaching in 2000, I don't know, it would have been 2013. Yeah, that was my first year teaching. Well, actually, my student teaching was in the same building. So 2012. I've had students reading this book in their literature course, and they absolutely loved it, and they recommended it to me, and I picked up a copy, and I have a copy, and I had not picked it up since 2012. And I'm so thankful that Alma from Alma's Book Journey, she had it on her list to read, and I was like, hey, can we read that together? Because I'm going to need a friend to get through this book with. I had attempted it, I think once. I got through a couple chapters, and it is structured very uniquely. It's narrated from the perspective of Death. Death is a character, and you can kind of see things that are going on. You get very little snippets as you go. I would say this is more of a character-driven story, which I am learning about myself is not my favorite. And I think that's where I struggled. It's not a story that me personally could get just swept away in. And that's where I never felt that pull towards the characters. I have not watched the movie yet, though, so I'm hoping that maybe the movie will help pull me into the story a little bit more. I think it's such a fascinating way to tell a story. There were so many heartbreaking and real things that were happening throughout the story that I really did appreciate and learn so much from. But I do think the way it was told took away from my enjoyment of the story. And that's just a me thing. I know that there was another book this year that I struggled with because it was told in just little vignettes going back and forth between characters and the narrator for a time. Great Gatsby was kind of told in that little vignettes. It's personally hard for me just to get drawn into stories that are told in that fashion. So I think that took it down a little bit for me. I'm so thankful I finally got to it. It was so much fun to chat with Alma back and forth about this story as we went through what's going to happen next. It is a very long book to get through, but I did enjoy the way it kind of broke it up into different pieces. And I think the author took a very unique and different look at it, which was very interesting to read through. So this book finally off my list after 13 years. Yep. All right, the last book I have to talk about today is one from my 25 and 2025 list that I'm so excited to almost be done with. and that is Premeditated Myrtle by Elizabeth C. Bunt. This one we follow Myrtle Hardcastle. She is just a quirky little girl who is very intelligent and inquisitive and just all the things. She just wants to get in the middle of things and learn about them. There were so many parts to this story that just had me laughing along with it. She is such a fun, quirky character to get to know. It was fun and enjoyable, and I love seeing her attempt to make friends and just all the situations that she gets into. It's such a cozy read, and I am looking forward to continuing on with this series. All right, so that's it for today's list of books. I have lots and lots of books to talk about still, so be looking forward to more of these short reading wrap-up videos in the future. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for spending some time with me. Leave me a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.